So I told you there was more to this story. So I left San Jose, Morgan Hill, 12 June 2001. Take a ride back to Gaylord on the bike to help my brother build his house. And there's really not much to say about the beginning of the trip. I don't have the ambition to try and remember it. I could if I wanted, but I do know that I drove through a desert at dawn, and it was frigid, like the good old days. But thing is, I stopped at the haunted tree west of Carlin, Nevada, that I slept in the first bike trip that I took back in '96. It's at the trailhead to the Hastings Cutoff. There's a tree out there. You won't find many in the area, and I needed one to sleep in, and I slept in it. So I stopped back there and drove into that field and across that arroyo, dried out riverbed thing, and same tree. There's only one. There can be only one. And I stayed there just long enough to know that I'd been there long enough, and I got the hell out of there before it started getting dark. And then I know also I stopped in Hays, Kansas. I was riding through a storm most of the way, like right there in the eye of it, and I was watching the whole thing move, and it was going around me, and I was just like, wow, I'm just staying in the middle of it. And I stopped in Hays, Kansas after a long ride. How long, I don't know. And went to a VFW hall. First beer on the house they bought for me, I had another one and found out where a good place to stay was. So I went there and I watched the Weather Channel for a little bit before going to sleep, just to know where the hell I was. And I realized I don't have any time to screw around. So I put a wake-up call in, slept 2.5 hours, and got up and got breakfast and hit the road as the sun was coming up. And it was just a dense fog. It's like if I were this far away from you, you wouldn't be able to see me. I was going down the freeway like that. And I took the first rest area exit that I could take. It went into the rest area and it was just packed. Nobody was on the road. And I said, well, hell. I went in and pissed out my coffee and got back on the road, and I decided to take the center line, because when you're doing 80 miles an hour through this stuff, you can't see anything. The safest place to be is on the center line. At least you can pass between the cars. And so I did that for a long while and didn't see anything but cars on the side of the road as I was passing by. It was just, so that was the beginning of the trip. I stopped at the Vietnam Wall in Junction City. I set up my camera and put on the timer so I could get some pictures of me standing in front of it, looking like I had a friend. And then I pretty much got through some kind of sleeting storm where I'm not even going to talk about it, there's no reason to even mention just flying down on the other side of a rest area with these trucks you can't even see, and it's just a whole line of trucks. You got one lane to be in, and you got a Mustang behind you riding your ass, and you can't see anything. The trucks are throwing up the rain off the road. The road rain's coming down off the show. Sometimes it was like it was raining from underneath. I may not be a smart man, Jenny, but I know what a treacherous bitch is. And, you know, I'm not even going to talk about how you're driving, you got this guy on your ass, you can't see anything, and you're just being pushed, you can't go anywhere. And how these damn refurbished tires that they put on these trucks, these big giant anaconda snakes on the side of the road, sometimes you see one coiled in front of you at the very last minute with a Mustang riding your ass. It's like a real tire. I hit that and you got to keep going straight, otherwise you're going to be under a truck. I'm not even going to talk about that stuff, but that was getting well into it. And when I stopped in Effingham and slept for 45 minutes, I mentioned in the story I had 3 snoozes. You're going to get screwed up on a lot of my math, but if you follow it, you get it. I always let the snooze go again when I get up. I snooze it that way. I'll go back and shut it off. Otherwise, I might just sleep right through it again. You got to keep the snooze on. Turn it off later. Screw everybody that's trying to sleep. If you're up to work, you go to work. They can get their ass up and possibly make you an egg sandwich. And so anyway, yeah, I stopped in Effingham, but left there, stopped by the cemetery. I got these pictures with the tombstones, but there was just something so weird about that cemetery. I walk in cemeteries at night a lot. I walk through parks where I think people might follow me. I walk places where you're not supposed to walk just to see what's going to happen. And rarely does anything happen. It's amazing how scared they have us of everything. Or maybe you just have to be scarier. I don't know what the trick is. Ta-da! Hey, somebody's going to come kill me now. I know it. I shouldn't even be inviting that sort of thinking. But, so I get back on the road, and it's just, you know, it was 4:30 in the morning when I was at the cemetery, and I'm going from the cemetery on this bike going through state roads. I'm trying to get to Scomp's before he leaves for work in the morning. I know that Scomp's probably going to leave about 8 in the morning. I've been to his house a few times. I get there every time. I've run through the damn forest and the cornfields to get to his place when he left me there drunk. But in the bar. The thing is, this is pretty dark stuff, a lot of curves, and I'm riding just in that phantasmic phase part there, and there's this guy I see. He's standing there, 4:30 in the morning. He's standing there. He looks like he's got a backpack on, and he's just like that as I'm coming up. And as I'm going by, I can see he's just watching me. And I'm thinking, I should stop and talk to this guy. And then I realize, what the hell am I thinking, you know? I might be running around at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm pretty safe. I'm just screwing around, but anybody that's out at 4:30 in the morning is probably out of their minds and highly dangerous. And as I went by this guy, I could just see him looking at me. But it was like he was a shadow that was darker than the night. And there was an emptiness to this guy standing there like that it had a physical manifestation to it, though. It was like it was a person, it was something, but it was darker than the shadows of night. And it watched me as I went by, and I just kept going. I said, son of a bitch. And I was coming into Olney a little bit after that. Olney, Illinois. I screwed up the names. Effingham is Illinois. Indiana, you know, Olney, Illinois. You know, I screwed them up. But if you listen closely, I screwed them up consistently. But, so I pull into Olney and I turn left on their highway to go wherever the hell I'm going, and I need gas, and I'm going by this little plaza, and I look, and that same dude is standing there in this alcove in the plaza, and just looking like he's like that. And I realized, seeing it now, it was like there were some big fucking black wings hanging off his back, and he was just watching me. I'm like, how did he get here? And I was looking, I said, what the hell is that? And then I realized I've never seen a funeral home in a strip mall before, but he was standing in the alcove of a funeral home in the strip mall, and I said, what the? And I pulled into the gas station a little bit up there, and I was just like, I was wigged. I filled my tank, and I'm coming out, and there was this guy, and it was the weirdest thing. I had to tell somebody, and I caught him outside, and I told him. I said, "Were you ever hearing about it?" And he had these like frog-like ears and these big eyes, and he just looked like he looked different. And he looked at me and he said, "You'll be all right." And I said, "What the fuck is that? You mean I'll be all right?" I said, I gotta get the hell out of here. And I hit the road again. And then I was up the road just a little bit and through the darkness again. And all the time I'm traveling, there was one point. I'm going up through the roads, and I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, I've been on the road for probably 25 hours at this time. And I'm thinking, the government can't hurt me, but kill me. That's what the government can't kill me, but we've yet to see if nature can. You know, I got these mind thoughts going on. And as I thought that, right there in front of my face, whoo, there was a sparrow going, bop, 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 bop. And I'm doing 50. And this thing, it's just traveling with me like that. Not even like it's trying to go backwards. It was just right in my face. And in the way my mind was working, I had time. I said, oh. I went, moved my head out of the way, and it just went, whoo, went flying by. And I said, what the hell was that? It was right there at the moment that I thought that, what's nature got? And it about hit me in the head. And so I made it to Scamps, and because I had to catch him before he went to work. And as I pull up to the farmhouse, his brother Jerry's coming out, and I said, I made it, because they were roommates in the house. And he saw Scamps in Washington on a business trip, and I said, Scamp, on a business trip? What the hell's going on here? And I sat on the porch. He said, you can go to sleep if you want. I said, all right. And I sat on the porch, and he said, drink beer. So I drank 4 beers, and I wondered about that fog that I drove through. As I was sitting there, I'm like, what the hell was that? I just wondered about it. It seemed like it was almost like I could have passed through to something else. Even Scamp was different. And took a 4-hour nap. Woke up with Joe Scamp's dad standing there looking at me, and then recognizing me. Who the hell's this laying on the couch? Stopped by to see Scamp's brother. And I got up 4 hours after a 27-hour trip. And I got on the road again for another 22-hour trip, where I met strange and interesting people that I already knew. It wasn't that I knew them so much as it was that they knew me. It was a combination of things. That driving down that state highway in Indiana somewhere on my reserve tank going, I better find a gas station somewhere, and all I'm doing is going through swamps, and there's my headlight ahead of me like a tunnel, and just fireflies like the night sky, and then in my rearview mirror I just see red from my tail light. It's just like I'm in the middle of nowhere. I need some gas. And I pulled in. All I saw ahead of me was this oasis of light. And I was on the wrong road anyway, I knew that, but I knew if I drove long enough I'd find another road. And there was this oasis of light, and I was like, what? And it was a gas station. So I pulled in and I walked in there, and immediately I knew this woman, and we knew each other, and she gave me her address, and I never did send her a card, but Kat. And as we talked, after a good while of knowing each other already, I mean, I'm not being dirty. It turned out I was right there at the road I needed to take to get to where I was going. I'd been lost on a road for like at least 2 hours and running out of gas at that point. But just interesting things. And so by the time I made it back to Gaylord from Scomp's house, that was another 22-hour ride. Rolled into the oven fresh, saw my mother in the afternoon, walked in looking like a maniac, and there are customers. And I'm talking about Jesus. Yeah, you don't want to get me started. And then I drove home, then I went to the gas station because I was on my reserve tank pulling into Gaylord. And I walked into the gas station, pulled out a handful of coins in my pocket and put it on the counter. I see it, count it and put it in the pump. And the guy's like, I said, I'm free. Totally broke. There's no feeling like that. I didn't owe anybody a goddamn thing. I just didn't have any money. And so yeah, I made it. Then I went home and I climbed in a tree and watched my dad out in the field screwing around with the tractor. While I was in the tree, I was in the spirit zone. That's what I kept saying in Oven Fresh. I'm in the spirit zone. And then I went into that basement of my mom and dad's house, my parents' house. I went into the basement through that dank place and threw a mattress up in the back room where I had the dream against the doorless wall, a mattress, and I slept for 16 hours straight. And when I came up, my mother said that she said I was saying awful things. She was trying to wake me up when she got home from work. And I remember the word fuck a lot. But, you know, get the fuck out of here. Mother, I love you. And that was a summer. I was helping my brother build a house, and I started reading this damn H.P. Lovecraft, and I had the Necronomicon in my saddlebags, and I started reading that too, and I was pronouncing the words, trying to get them right, and didn't realize I was like doing Beetlejuice shit. I kept saying these demons' words out loud, and I was having these things in my room stuff. You wake up and it's up there, and then the children dreams, and then the Lovecraft stuff. I'd never read anything by him in my life. I've been told for years I needed to, and I just avoided no. And as I read this stuff, he's talking about things that happened at the haunted tree. He's talking about the children, things biting your necks, climbing on a furry thing that snuggles you in the night. I was getting attacked, like for the first time ever, being bit in my sleep. And, well, Yeah, in my sleep. But just one of the stories there too was about the people that hang out in the southeast places, which is where I was in Olney. I was in southeast of Indiana. I was sleeping in the very southeast corner of the room with my head against the corner. I was just, this guy was a frog-like fella. The guy that told me I would be all right in Olney was exactly the kind of guy that Lovecraft talked about. These things he said that I've never heard anyplace else. These things that happened to me. These things that he says he doesn't even believe, but you know he saw it. So I told you, long boring story, shit going on. Good night, sleep tight, decide which of your dreams come true.